You know, when we think about the United Nations, our minds usually jump to gridlock, vetoes, and those big Security Council showdowns. But honestly, that's only half the story. Today, we're going to peel back the layers and give you a pretty uncommon view of the UN, one that shows a really dynamic and, yeah, often contradictory organization right at the heart of our world.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Here's the thing. The UN isn't just one single organization. It's really two, and they're operating at the exact same time. On one side, you've got this club of power, totally dominated by the 5 countries that won World War II. But right alongside it, you have a parliament of peoples, where every single one of the 193 member nations gets an equal vote. These two versions of the UN are always in tension, and understanding that is the absolute key to getting what the organization is all about.
All right, so let's start with the UN we see in the headlines all the time. The club, the one created by and really for the victors of 1945. This is the UN of pure power politics. And at the heart of that club is the Security Council. Make no mistake, this is the UN's most powerful body. Its decisions can be legally binding, which means what the Council decides can basically become international law for every single member country. That is a tremendous amount of authority.
But here's the catch. That authority is super concentrated. The P5, the 5 permanent members, each have a veto. Just one of them can stop any major resolution in its tracks. And that single tool has shaped global politics for, over 75 years now? During the Cold War, it led to almost total paralysis. The diplomat Arajo Castro put it perfectly. He called it the freezing of the international power structure of 1945. It basically locked in a world order that, let's be honest, doesn't really exist anymore.
Okay, so that's one side of the coin. But at the exact same time, another UN was growing, one with a totally different philosophy. This is the UN that really tries to be the world's conscience.
This quote from way back in 1947 just perfectly captures the spirit of the General Assembly. See, it's not a body built on raw power, but on principle. The whole vision for it was to be the moral center of the UN, a place where every nation, big or small, could speak up and actually be heard. So how does it do that? Well, with a simple and pretty radical idea: sovereign equality. In the General Assembly, the United States gets one vote. And so does the tiny island nation of Palau. One country, one vote. This is where the real global conversation happens, where international norms get debated and eventually created. And wow, did this vision take off. The UN started with just 51 members. But then this huge wave of decolonization swept the globe after the war, and dozens of newly independent nations chose to join. That massive expansion to the 93 members we have today, it didn't just change the UN's size, it changed its entire soul. It made it a truly universal organization. You see, the General Assembly's real power isn't about commanding armies, not at all. It's about launching world-changing ideas. I mean, think about it. From the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to the huge push for decolonization, the GA has been this incredible engine for shaping the very principles that guide our world today. And this leads us to another one of these uncommon views, the UN's definition of peace itself. It's not just about stopping wars, it's about building a world where war is much less likely to even start in the first place. Now, the engine for this bigger vision is a part of the UN you probably don't hear about much, the Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC. Its fundamental job is to go after the root causes of conflict, poverty, inequality, environmental disasters, by pushing for sustainable development. This whole philosophy is baked right into the UN Charter. The logic is pretty simple, right? If you address poverty and inequality, you create stability and well-being. And that foundation is what allows for a truly lasting peace. It's a proactive approach, not just a reactive one. And listen, this wasn't some idea they just tacked on later. This quote from 1946 shows that the founders saw these two councils as equal partners. The vision was crystal clear. If ECOSOC does its job well, the Security Council won't have to intervene as often. Development isn't separate from peace, it's a precondition for it. But here's the problem. While the UN's membership and mission have exploded, its central power structure has not. It's stayed frozen. And this has led to one of the most intense, ongoing battles inside the organization, the fight for a seat at the main table. So let's just look at the numbers, because they really tell a story. In 1945, there was one Security Council member for every 5 UN countries. Okay? Today, that ratio is 1 to 13.
The Council has become drastically less representative of the very world it's supposed to protect.
And trying to fix this? Well, it's a total political deadlock. You have the G4 nations, Brazil, Germany, India, Japan, pushing for new permanent seats for themselves. Then you have this other group, the Union for Consensus, that says no, 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 just add more non-permanent seats. And the P5, the original winners? Well, you can bet they are very resistant to any change that would water down their exclusive power.
So, what do we do with all this? You've got these two competing identities, a frozen power structure clashing with a universal parliament. It kind of forces us to ask, what exactly is the UN's ultimate purpose? Maybe, just maybe, we've been looking at it the wrong way this whole time.
This quote, this is where, for me, everything just clicks into place. What if the UN isn't meant to be a world government that acts or some kind of court that passes judgment? What if its main job is to be an arena, a center for managing disputes and harmonizing what nations do before things get out of hand?
And that brings our two UNs right back together. The UN of Power acts as an instrument to manage security, reflecting the world as it is. The UN of Peoples works as a vehicle to transform norms, advocating for the world as it could be. The organization lives in this constant, dynamic tension between these two roles. So that leaves us with a final thought. We so often judge the UN by its failures, by its inability to enforce its will. But maybe its real strength, its true, uncommon value, isn't about enforcement at all. Maybe, just maybe, it's about its remarkable capacity to simply evolve, to provide a permanent arena for a world that is always, always changing. What do you think?